So I've been thinking about something. And bear with me here because this one goes a little deeper than usual. Why don't vigilantes exist? And I don't mean Batman. I don't mean the cool cinematic version where a billionaire with trauma and a utility belt is out here solving crimes in a city that somehow only has one competent guy in it. Like, why, in a world full of people who are genuinely angry about crime, genuinely frustrated with the system, and have apparently unlimited time to argue about it on Twitter, why aren't they doing anything about it? Welcome back to Hayden's Chat Corner, where I talk about life, ask questions that probably have uncomfortable answers, and continue my losing streak in the last of his factions. So the vigilante fantasy is basically hardwired into pop culture at this point. Batman, Daredevil, The Punisher, every action movie where the cops are useless and one guy with nothing to lose decides enough is enough. We love this story. We always have loved this story. And yet, nobody is actually doing it. Which is weird, right? Because the conditions seem to be there. Crime exists, people are angry about it, and the internet has spent the last 15 years proving that humans will organize literally anything if you give them a common enemy and a Discord server. And yet, no vigilantes. So why not? Well, I've got 3 reasons why, and they all build on each other. So please, stay with me here. Before we get into it, I want to briefly acknowledge a man named Tony Allison, who, in April of 1997, in downtown Seattle, stood on a street corner with a 3-foot samurai sword, and held off 50 police officers for 11 hours. Is he a vigilante? Genuinely unclear. Was he fighting crime? Also unclear. Was he doing anything other than simply refusing to put down the sword? Also unclear. What is clear is that the police tried bribing him with $50. He ignored it. They offered him a Big Mac, but he held fast. They even tried reverse psychology, telling them that Satan was preventing him from surrendering, although he was not fooled by their lies. Eventually, they got him with the fire hose. Tony Apollo Allison is not really relevant to the point I'm about to make. I just think everyone should know he exists. Moving on. Okay, let's start with the practical side, because I think most people, when they picture vigilante justice, picture the highlight reel. The moment of intervention, the bad guy stopped, the innocent person was saved. What they don't picture is everything before that moment. First problem, information. How do you know when a crime is going to happen? The police have dispatch systems, informants, patrol routes, and decades of data on whether things tend to go wrong and when. You have what, exactly? A feeling? A Reddit thread? You can't just wander around the city at night hoping to stumble into something you can fix. That's not vigilantism, that's just being outside at a bad time. And even if you did happen to be in the right place, and even if you happen to be in the right place. The second problem, training. The average person is not equipped for physical confrontation with someone who has made a lifestyle out of physical confrontations. You might be big, you might be strong, you might have watched a lot of MMA. But none of that prepares you for the specific chaos of a real situation where someone wants to hurt you and isn't following any rules. Police train for this constantly. Military train for this constantly. And even if they get it wrong. Third problem, equipment. Body armor is expensive. Weapons are regulated. And showing up to a crime in regular clothes is just volunteering to become part of the incident report. Now, there was a guy who actually tried to solve all of these problems. His name was Ben Fodor. You might know him as Phoenix Jones. In 2010, a Seattle man named Ben Fodor put on a black and gold bulletproof suit with a mask and, I want to be very clear about this detail, fake six-pack abs built into the costume, and started patrolling the streets of Seattle at night, looking for crime to stop. He had actual equipment, a ballistic vest, stamp plating, stun baton, and pepper spray. He had an MMA background, so he can handle himself physically. He had a whole team, the Rain City superhero movement, and he claims to have made over 100 arrests. So on the practical side, he did more than what most people would, which makes what happens next even more instructive. Because here's the thing about the law that the vigilante fantasy conveniently leaves out. The law does not care about your intentions. The law cares about your actions. In 2011, Phoenix Jones approached a group of people outside a nightclub. He believed that they were fighting, so he pepper sprayed them. The police showed up, determined there was no fight, and arrested Phoenix Jones. Now, he was eventually cleared. The video he filmed backed up his version of events enough that the charges didn't stick. But here's what that moment perfectly illustrates. He had the suit, he had the training, he had the equipment, and the intention of years of experience on the streets. And he still misread information. And the second he acted on that misread, regardless of his intentions, regardless of his track record, he became the guy getting arrested. Because that's the legal reality of vigilantism. You have no authority, which means every single action you take exists in a legal gray area at best, and outright assault at worst. Get it right, maybe you're fine, but you get it wrong once, you're the criminal. In the same logic that lets the good guy intervene lets the bad guy intervene too, the law can't make that distinction at the moment, so it doesn't matter at all. Okay, last one. And this is the one I actually think is most interesting. Phoenix Jones kept going after the arrest, kept patrolling, kept intervening, kept believing he was making a difference. And then, 2014, he dissolved the Rain City superhero movement, just shut it down. He said the controversy has gotten to be too much, that he wasn't sure he was doing the kind of good thing he once hoped. And then, in 2020, he got arrested for selling MDMA and cocaine to undercover police officers. The man who spent years telling drug dealers to take their business elsewhere was dealing drugs. Now, I'm not saying this to mock him. I genuinely think Ben Fodor started out with real intention. I think he looked at this city, saw things going wrong, and decided to do something about it instead of just being angry online. That instinct isn't nothing, but here's what his story actually shows. What it isn't, what Phoenix Jones found out the hard way, is sustainable. Because the reality of actually doing it is years of patrol in the rain, legal battles, public criticism, misread situations, and the slow erosion of believing you're making a dent. And most people don't actually want to do the work. What they want is to feel like they could, which is why the vigilante stays a fantasy. The fantasy lets you believe you'd suit up if it came to it. The reality is that even the guy who actually did suit up eventually took the suit off. So why don't vigilantes exist? Practically, you don't have the information, training, or equipment to do it effectively. And even the one guy who did have all three still got it wrong. Legally, the system will come for you regardless of whether you were right. One misread and you're the criminal. And fundamentally, the version of justice that actually works doesn't look like anything the version we find compelling. It's slow, it's boring, and it's institutional. Nobody makes movies about that. Phoenix Jones put on a suit with fake abs and patrolled the streets of Seattle for years because he genuinely wanted to help. Tony Apollo Allison stood on a street corner with a samurai sword for 11 hours and refused a Big Mac. Neither of them fixed anything, because the thing that actually makes communities safer is the slow, unglamorous, uncinematic work that doesn't feel like anything when you're doing it. And that's the real answer. Vigilantes don't exist, because the job that actually needs doing was never going to look cool enough to inspire a franchise. Tony Apollo Allison was still pretty cool though, objectively. So yeah, that's the rabbit hole. Probably not the answer anyone was hoping for, but most rabbit holes aren't. Next time, we will go to Reddit, specifically r/worker stories, which is a place where people talk about the worst things that ever happened to them at work. I feel personally connected to this one. You'll see why.